Hello, 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 and good evening. Welcome to Rise and Thrive Together, Real Talk, Real Results with Regina and Raquel. Thank you so much for joining in and listening, or if you are watching the replay, we are so thrilled that you're going to be in this conversation, and we look forward to your comments. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment. It is Memorial Day, and I just want to have that honor for everybody who has fought for our country and has even lost their lives so that we can have the freedom and the opportunity to do what we love to do right now. So thank you, everybody. I'm looking at, all my family members, Raquel's people in her community, and everyone else. Just want to honor them and thank them for doing what they've done. So we have an opportunity to be here. All right, we are getting to kick this off hot and strong. We are doing part 2 of last week's conversations about limiting beliefs and the blame game. So I'm going to pass it on to my sis. Hello, Raquel. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I am ready to get into this conversation.
Awesome. So, like my sister said, this is part two. I just want to throw in one little snippet about blaming others. When you blame others, you give them the power, which makes you the victim. And I will say this, Hill Harper said it best in one of his books, A Conversation. He said, there are no victims, only volunteers. And that, when I read that, that hit me hard because it's like, wow, I'm a volunteer. Now, I'm not saying whatever happened isn't messed up, because it is. Like we said last week, it absolutely is. But it's what you make it mean about you. And blaming others holds you captive. You can't grow when you're captive. Okay. I want you guys to know that you are better than blaming others. What I want you to do, point a finger. When you point a finger, how many fingers are pointing at the person that you're blaming? One. How many fingers are pointing back at you? Three fingers are pointing back at you. That makes you three times as responsible as the person that you were blaming. Let's jump out of this blame game. And instead of blaming, let's get into the grow game. We are starting to grow as people, grow personally, professionally, and let's focus our energy there. Okay, there's something that I want to read to you. The only reason we need to blame is because we're disappointed in the outcome. The way we cope with disappointment is blaming others. And that's a whole conversation that we can have about disappointment and our expectations of people. And we'll touch on that. But what I want you to get from this is you're better than blaming. Things happen. This is called life. Blaming keeps you captive. Release yourself, set yourself free, and stop blaming others and take responsibility for your part, your role. What did you do? So instead of blaming, we're going to be responsible human beings. Okay? We got that? Now,
Yes.
before we jump into today's conversation, which is on techniques that Regina and I both use as far as mindset shifting and limiting beliefs, you can take these techniques that we're going to go over and adopt them as your own. You can tweak them, you can ignore them and try something new. All we want you to do is recognize when you're having a limiting belief and do something. We want you to get in action. Okay? But before we jump in there, I'm excited to announce June 5th, we are going to have a special guest joining us, the money coach herself, Miss Sharon Lewis. Sharon is coming in to drop some golden nuggets on us from about our finances. We're halfway through the year already. When she comes on, it'll be June. She's going to talk about June right through to the end of the year. Where are you and where do you want to be? And Sharon Lewis, Miss Money Coach, is going to get you there. So come prepared for some real talk, real results, and we want you to put the effort and energy into your finances. Okay, can we do that?
I'm in.
Uh, so am I, because I definitely need that. All right, sis, let's jump on into these techniques. What is it that you do when you recognize, notice the key word there, when you recognize a limiting belief? What do you do?
All right. So this is like a really kind of packed in conversation in a limited time.
Mm.
Like that limited. So here's the thing. Number one, I want to clarify, like, a limiting belief is not the truth. And we are born and wired with all of these limiting beliefs
Mm.
because we have been inherited with conversations from before we were even born, right?
Wow.
All the conversations that whoever was holding you and taking care of you in the womb, all of their conversations around money, around life, whatever was happening with them, and all of those feelings and emotions are stored inside each and every one of us in our,
Mm.
and it, since we're all connected, it's in us. So we come out, boom, out of the gate with so much information, and we don't even understand it. Our
Mm.
brain is developing. So, like, when I say that pretty much we act most of the time in our life around relationships, money, and when she says blame game, I'm not even saying about others. I'm like talking about ourselves. I'd say we are the biggest blamers of ourselves on everything, right? Because it's
Yep.
all of those past conversations that were, that our mind had to absorb all that information and make some meaning about. Now, how do I know about limiting beliefs? Like, I'm someone who is very much interested in personal growth and development.
Mm.
It has been, I'm a social worker. It's been part of those ingrained conversations, not right or wrong, just situations that happened that I got to be interested in. And so between books and videos, and now we got podcasts and audio, but I got to really get to understand a lot of that through a lot of courses and trainings and seminars. And
Wow.
that's what I love. Now, it's not easy, like Raquel said. But the one huge nugget that I'm going to tell you is this: we're going to share something with you, and we are all wired for a quick fix. This is
Mm.
what this is about. So, my nugget is commitment and consistency. Commitment and consistency. So, the things and the tools that I use, which is a lot of things that I'll share about throughout, but it's commitment. It is a daily action step,
Mm.
and it's consistent. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I drop the ball? Absolutely not. The last C, ready? Commitment, consistency, and community.
Mm.
What I said to you last night, why we called Rise and Thrive Together. It is inside of me being committed and consistent and being in community to share what I'm dealing with, to have somebody else listen, listen in a non judgmental way,
That's important.
ask for support. So I don't just go and go, I do have those days. But when I do that, it is a conversation. Raquel and I, hey sis, I'm calling you today. I need to vomit out all of this stuff that's inside of me. And so she knows that's a vomiting conversation, not the truth, but I need to get it out. Then it's, hey, I'm stuck. Did you hear
Mm.
something in there that you can support me in because I can't X, Y, and Z? Right? That I can't is my limiting belief. And
Mm.
how I'm pivoting it is I'm going into action by calling someone who I feel aligned to, that I feel supported, that I feel trusted in. And I'm committed to her. We are here each week, and we don't just meet here. We speak, I don't even know how many times in a week, right? And I'm consistent in those conversations with her because we both have goals. We both have desires and dreams that we are committed to manifest. That's what I'm dropping on you today.
Wow. That was good. That was good. She came with the three C's. My sister's so organized. She said, what, ladies and gentlemen? She said she is committed. Who are you committed to?
Me,
She said she is consistent. And she said she gets into her community. Did y'all hear that? Do you understand what that means? None of it sounds easy. Cause daggone commitment. And you're committing to you. So the only person that you let down is who? It's
me,
you. For me, limiting beliefs, they used to really and truly get me. They used to be my best friend. I was like, come on over, have dinner, lunch, stay a while, take your shoes off. And now I'm like, yeah, you don't live here, you don't pay no bills. I don't see you bringing in no groceries. It's time for you to roll out. Now, don't think I don't have them. In order for me to make those statements that I just made, they had to be there. The limiting beliefs had to be there. The key is for me recognizing when it's a limiting belief. It's not, my sis said it good. She said, I can't. I can't. I can do all things. I can do all things, all things, all things. Right? So for me, it's not I can't do it. My thing is why? I'm a big why person. Why do I want to do X, Y, and Z? When that limiting belief comes in and says, well, I don't know why you want to do it because you can't anyway. I'm like, excuse you. Again, you don't pay rent, you don't do anything. And that took time. That took, like my sis said, it took a lot of commitment. I had to learn not to commit so much to others, but commit to me first. Because if I don't commit to me, I cannot commit to other people. Okay. I had to learn to invest in myself. And by investing in myself, I had to take courses. For me, I had to. There was no other option for me to learn what I call this new language to diminish my limiting belief. I had to invest in myself. I invested in coaches, personal growth, therapy, all these different conversations. And I call them new language because for me, it was a new language
Yep.
to learn how to put me first, how to be committed to me, how to invest in myself. And so that's what I do. I'm committed to me. I'm committed that when I speak, it happens because it's another conversation that we'll have about your words and the words that you speak and what does that produce. For me, I
Mm.
had to watch what I was saying. Part of being committed to me is watching what I'm saying because if I'm committed to me, I want my growth. I want me to grow exponentially. Let me tell y'all, if y'all, for those of you that know me, y'all know I dream big. I'm like, listen, the bigger the better. And people are like, oh, that'll never happen. I'll say, maybe not for you, boo. But for me, I truly believe it. So I had to believe. That's another commitment. I believe so much. I would love to show y'all this tattoo here that I got on my wrist. It's in Chinese. And guess what it says? Believe.
Believe.
I have to. Because if I don't believe it, what's going to happen, sis? If I don't believe it, is it going to happen?
Nope.
And I know what it's like to believe the opposite. I know what it's like to believe in those limiting beliefs. And they got me nowhere. My question is, where's it getting you? You're getting all of this. You're getting commitment. Oh my gosh, how hard was it for you to learn to commit to you, sis? I know for me, it was very hard because I was one that let me do for others, do here, 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 here. And I was everything to everyone and nothing to me.
Yep. That's why we're sisters, right? Sisters from another mister is how I always say it. I'm going to assert that probably, if I can see hands, how many resonated what Raquel just said, right?
Oh, let me
At
use this
the end
hand
of
so you
the
can see my little
day,
tattoo.
we are wired, and I want to remind you guys that we're wired as doers.
Mm,
We're all 8 billion people. If you walk around, we're wired as doers, right? And then we're brought up that way in that inherited conversation. We do this so that we can have this, and then we'll be this,
right.
right? So it's like I'm doing this and I'll have all this, money, and I will be happy and successful. And that, I'm not saying is wrong. That's
Mm,
one way of seeing things. But inside of this, like limiting belief, like that's limiting for me. Because truly, when she's talking about being committed to yourself, truly being committed to put ourselves first, it's like, might be cliche for some people, but like when you're on an airplane, there is a reason why they say, put your oxygen mask on first.
that part.
I mean, there's so many people and other, and no offense to anybody else out there watching that you're like, oh, that's cliche. I'll take it because it works for me.
Yes.
If I'm on a plane and I got a 7-year-old daughter, almost seven, like, and my husband, it's our oxygen, saving ourselves first before I can help her.
Yes.
Right. And And because I'm so committed and like I'm out to like empower my daughter and have her have the real results she wants, girlfriend knows how to put on her oxygen mask. She
So she
reminds
is
me
also committed to herself, is what I'm hearing.
always, 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 always. She reminds me like in the car, right? Because, listen, here's how the mind works, right? Here's the thing, we get in the car. Josh puts on a seatbelt. We're belting her in, which by the way, she knows how to do that. So you can hear that. And then we're like, talking because we're out to do. And Lexi will, I'm not joking, guys, will stop and go, Daddy, mommy doesn't have her seatbelt on yet.
Mm,
Going into that blame game because it's so easy to be like, like right away to blame him that and then everybody's mad at Josh because he's like, he wasn't paying attention. And where does that get you? A whole bunch of unhappy, blaming people. Now, nobody's talking in the car and tears in one end, and I'm mad at him. And he's like, whatever, because our mind is constantly going. So, next nugget to drop, mindfulness. Like
mm,
being, like when you're saying awareness, it is a moment of awareness. And most of the things that we don't know, right? Like you're like, hey, I still don't understand this limiting belief. I'm telling you, Regina, I have every bit of evidence. Raquel, I've got every bit of evidence to prove to you X, Y, and Z. Absolutely. That's how we're wired. A situation happens, and now you're in that fight for your life. Right?
mm,
I'm not going to let that go. And I'm going to get all that evidence that in the world to prove to you that I'm sure that he's that way or she's that way or I'm this way. Why? Because all of this stuff happened to me. All of it. One perspective. We're
mm.
asking you to put on a different pair of glasses, be a little bit, open up a little bit more, let that in. And there's another perspective. There's
Right.
that. And being in a conversation with someone like this to go deeper into this work. Raquel and I have done lots and lots of work. Just
And guess what? We still got lots more work to do.
always, always,
We're
always,
not
always,
trying to be
always.
perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be very clear. Perfection to me is boring, that does not leave space for me to grow and learn anything new. I don't need perfect. I need action. I need to get
Mm.
stuff done. I need to make mistakes. Sorry, sis, didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
love it. But even so, like, one of the biggest, I will never forget one of the best conversations I had on one of the courses that I took. And I think you took the same course. I'm not sure, every person who teaches it has something different. But I
Mhm.
use Michael Jordan, and I'm using that on purpose because my sister loves basketball. She is a
All
basketball
y'all Laker fans,
fanatic, fanatic.
that face. Sorry, I'm gonna get some hate email. I'm good with it though.
She owns who she is. But Michael Jordan, if you've watched his Netflix or you've read his books or you've listened to him, talks about like, so when you say perfection,
Mm,
he is one of the top basketball players, like, or like people look up and admire through his whole entire life, through his whole entire career. The thing that he said that got him into the next level, looking what was missing, in his game. Even when you're like, Jordan just scored what, 46 points? He was like masterful. It was perfect. Not for him. He was always interested in growing. So he
mm,
would go back and watch the videotapes. Why I say that is when she's talking about awareness, that's what we're doing. Listen, something's going to happen. We're going to be upset and we are wired to reflect back.
right.
So every single time there's that setback, that thing that you say, see, I told you is the evidence, you got a choice to either blame it and have it take you out and be the victim, or you can go, okay, don't like it. And this is the opportunity where I can become a victor.
Mm.
I can rise and thrive above it. Now, I got to take a breath. I got to take a breath, right? I'm so like, I'm heated. Like, I love it. I'm so excited. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to now, my next tip is I kind of write it out sometimes. Like, I
Mm.
write it, the whole thing out. I'm into that. There's something about pen to paper. There's a lot of science and research on that. So I write it out. I mean, the whole story of it, feelings, emotions, all of it. It gets it released from inside and out of here and onto paper. And then sometimes I put it away. Sometimes I read it. but I do put into action being in a conversation with someone who can support me. And I have, again, that community of a group of people. I've got a lot of coaches, I've got a lot of mentors, I got a lot of guides and people that are trained in this. And basically, my whole like phone list is like I surround myself.
Now,
You were the
sis,
one,
you've got
Raquel.
these
Go ahead.
people. Let me ask you this. What about those folks that don't have anyone or think that they don't have anyone? How do they get and develop a community?
Mm, she's throwing it on for me. So here's the thing: if anybody is here right now who's like, I just totally relate to what Raquel just said, I don't have that. I'm going to say I'm shattering it right now. Because if you're
Mm,
watching this right now, then you're connected to Raquel and I. If you are watching this and you hear that loud and clear, but I don't have anyone, that's your limiting belief. That's that limiting belief, that fear that's holding you back, staying a victim. And
mm,
it's no longer true because we're here. And so it's a, if you know Raquel or me, or maybe you're watching it because you're a friend, right? Because that's how like kind of these channels, social media, like you're watching it because your friend's watching it. And so like we're all connected. That's what I mean. We're all connected. So then you've got that friend.
yep,
Maybe you found us by accident, scrolling through, having one of those days and one of those like evenings and whatever. You got us now.
yep,
You're no longer alone. Just reach out. Info at riseandthrivetogether.com
yep.
and say, hey, I watched this. Man, that resonated. Boom. Let's have this, can I have a conversation with you? That is what we're here for.
Now,
I'm going
one
to
of
ask
the
you, what about
ex-
you?
exactly. So, one of the things that you mentioned was you said you journal. You write.
Yeah, I do.
In case y'all, if y'all don't know me, you're gonna find out. I'm a talker. I am. So I like to talk to myself a whole lot. Not because I'm the smartest person in the room, because I picked up this saying from somewhere. If you're the smartest person among your friends and in your group, get a new group because you're not going to learn anything else. Okay, so if you pride yourselves on, I'm so smart, my friends are just, they're all this and they're all that. Mm, you need new friends. You need friends where you are not the smartest one so you can learn. But I digress. One of my grad school professors always used to digress. I digress a lot, but it's all good as long as I can find my way back. Sis, you said you journal. I talk. I talk to myself a whole lot. And when I recognize a limiting belief is there, I talk out loud to the limiting belief and I talk to myself. I haven't named it yet. I want to find a really cool name for my limiting belief other than limiting belief. It's just too long. I'm going to call it like, I don't know, Bob or Bog or I don't know. I'm going to figure something out. Sorry if your name is Bob. I wasn't referring to you. Throw that out there because folks will be like, "Oh my gosh, stop it! You're being extra." Um, so what I do is talk it out. I talk to the limiting belief, but I also, because I am committed to me, I talk to myself. And I'm like, okay, so you've got that thought, that idea. It's right here talking to you, and it's loud, right? Absolutely loud. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? How is it making you feel? And do you like that feeling? And these are the three things, and bring my fingers down so you can see. That's what I talk to myself about. And if I'm like, oh my gosh, do I like what it's saying? No. I'm not asking if it's true or not. Do I like it? Is my question. Don't go deep. No, I don't like it. How is it making me feel? It's making me feel like bleep. Y'all can fill in the bleep. What am I going to do about it? Do I like this feeling? Do I want to stay in that space of I feel less than? Do I want to stay in the space of, oh my gosh, woe is me? Do I want to stay in that space of the victim? I can't afford it. I cannot afford to be a victim. The dreams, the goals, the visions that I have, everything that I will accomplish, I can't afford to be a victim. I can't do it. And that conversation that I have with myself helps me. And then I reach out to my community. Now, sometimes asking those questions, depending on what's being said, don't even matter. I'm like, oh my gosh, wait. I can't get myself out. Let me call somebody that's going to be like, listen, what are you doing? What is going on? But Regina said something really important, and I want you to pay attention to it. She said when she calls, reaches out to her community, she's like, I just want to vomit stuff out. Let your community know what you want from them.
Yes.
Do you want to just vent, or are you looking for advice? Because if you don't tell them, they don't know, and they may offer advice when you just want to vent. Sometimes you just want to get it off, and that helps you feel so much better. And then there are other times you need advice. So do your community a favor and let them know. Be committed to you and tell people what it is that you want. What are you looking for? So that they know what space, what role they're going to play during that conversation. Okay? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think you now, you knocked it out of the park. Between that journaling and absolutely, talking to yourself and being able, again, these are tips and tools and techniques that we've learned throughout our programs that we've taken, coaches that we've had and still use to this day. Really just, it had me realize, and we've talked about this in the past, not on this show, but you and I and on other conversations we've had, which is like taking that moment, that breath, when we're so wrapped up and it's like the feelings and the emotions are, overtaken, or
Hmm.
you're in a conversation with somebody and then it gets super heated and both of you are not at all listening to
Right.
one another. You're hearing, big difference.
Yes.
Listening. When we were taught as kids to get up and walk away, I thought, like when you were little, it was great. And then like later on, you're like, that doesn't work because then they're like after you.
Mm.
You can. You can stop. You can take a breath, right? We're not talking like in the middle of a physical fight, but we're talking about like a heated debate, a heated conversation. Things are being said. All of these things are happening, to take that breath.
Right.
3 deep breaths. My last tip to you. Big breath through the nose, let it out. Big breath through the nose, let it out slowly. And one more time. Science has proven that it slows down the heart rate, slows down the mind, and gets yourself
Mm.
in a more calm state. That limiting belief
Yes.
is going to be, when it's like that, that's an opportunity. All right, guys, we got huge tonight. I'm going to pass it off to my sister to bring us home, and I cannot wait to get to meet our money coach next
Yes. And Laker fans, once again, sorry, I'm going to stop doing that, maybe. Listen, guys, we want you to remember all the time. Remember, together we rise and thrive. Till next time.